Good evening. See, impact of globalization. See, I'll put a one direct point. Impact of globalization. This was mainly on the service sector. See, we brought many reforms initially with the LPG reforms. This made a wide scale impact in the service sector. See, why? Because simple language, we have three important sectors. One is primary, secondary, and tertiary. When we made LPG reforms, liberal, private, we have asked them to come and collaborate. Globalization, we have asked them to come and collaborate. That means most companies were US based companies, Europe based companies. So we have US based and European based companies. See, in US and Europe, even if you take now, 75% of their GDP is contributed from service sector. In fact, more than 75. So 75% of the GDP is from service sector only. So when you open your market, do you think they'll come into primary? Do you think they'll come into secondary? Most they were dominated in tertiary. That means telecom, banking, other financial services, IT related, IT, ES related, okay, enabled services. So that is the reason after the globalization, once we have brought globalization, remember US and European companies started trying to take the major role. That means what these companies have made an initiative, started making these initiatives in India with respect to telecom, with respect to banking, with respect to the other services, software, IT, pharma. So all these were like tertiary related. That means what? Service-based companies started dominating in our country. So it was basically the MNCs which took place, which all started producing more kind of service related. Then we started producing a lot of exports. So that is the reason after 1990, that is exactly 1991-92, the reforms which we made with respect to LPG, post these reforms, our service sector started producing more returns. Not the primary, not the, so that means what, till 1990, our primary sector was quite affordable. But post 1990, okay, our tertiary sector started contributing the maximum. That is what globalization and greater competition among the producers, both local and the foreign producers, has been of the advantage to the consumers. What is the reasons? Because the consumers who now improved quality and lower prices for several product, as a result, these people today enjoy. That means what, you are trying to create some sort of global standards. People are enjoying the global standards. It could be from domestic or from the foreign. Among producers and workers, the impact of globalization has not been uniform. Why could be it be uniform? In few areas, workers are getting benefited. In few areas, producers are getting benefited. That's the reason we can't check uniformity. Producers will be getting more profits. Workers may not. And sometime, if you take entrepreneurship, workers will be getting more profits. Firstly, MNC have increased their investments in India over the past 20 years, which means investing in India have been beneficial for them. MNCs have been interested in industries, so producing all this, such as banking, urban areas. These products have a large number of well-off buyers in these industries and services. New jobs have been created. Also, local companies supplying raw material, etc., to the industries has prospered. Finally, global lifestyle you have always dreamed about. Okay, that means what? There's some change in the lifestyle of the people, which we can easily expect. That is nothing but the impact of globalization. But prior to getting into all these things, remember these points what I have said. That means why our service sectors contributes the maximum, because in USA, in the European countries, maximum contribution are made by the service based. So when the maximum contribution are made by the services, so you expect more services to be happening here. So here in this case, you have in the recent year, the central and the state government in India are taking special steps to attract foreign companies. That what they will do, they will make special economic zone. What is the special economic zone? A zone where investments can happen at a higher rate. That means what? Here taxes will not be high. Taxes are very much low or lies from 0% to 25% in the initial years. They slowly started increasing. Okay, that means CES are being set up. CES are have to world-class facilities. Okay, all these companies who set up production units and says do not have to pay the taxes. That means they start from the zero and maximum they will go for 25. Initial pay it off rate. That means for 5 years they won't pay any taxes. Next 5 years 25%. Next 5 years 50%. That again depends. Government has allowed flexibility in the labor laws to attract foreign investments. Okay, that companies in the organized sector have to obey certain rules that aim to protect the workers' rights. The government has allowed companies to ignore many of this. Instead of hiring workers on a regular basis, companies hire workers flexibility for short period when there is intense pressure of work. That means what here after the post globalization, MNCs has invited, a lot of MNCs has invaded. So they started creating a lot of funds to the basic producers, etc. Secondly, several of the top Indian companies have been able to benefit from the increased competition. So that means what? Earlier it was dominated by BSNL. You have to understand this. Now when you made a private sector, this private sector has made okay competition in the market Geo. To survive from Geo, Airtel is giving a strongest competition. Other has gone because of Geo. Only the Airtel will give very see the BSNL private Geo sector. Once the Geo sector has entered into the field, only Airtel can withstand. Okay, all the other services has gone. Private sector competition has increased. That was the first paragraph says. Moreover, globalization has enabled some large IT companies to emerge as multinational, Tata Motors and everyone. Because globalization, why? Because once you has brought the concept of globalization, people started connecting with other countries. Now earlier Tata was in India, now Tata is in Europe. Tata is dominating in Europe and US. Okay, why this is because of the globalization? Because globalization has made our companies are MNCs. Globalization has also created new opportunities for companies providing services, particularly those involving IT. That means from here we have call centers. Okay, we have some sort of outsourcing. Okay, we have online services, banking services. Okay, all this kind of accounts related, data entries related, all the aspects which were very limited earlier. Now we have a large scale. That means we are getting a lot of benefits out of it. Okay, next. Small producers compete or perish. That is the first problem. See, with the globalization, the small or any sort of industries which are basically cottage or cottage and rural industries, they definitely make any small cottage or rural industries. They definitely make sure that these basic industries are also impacted negatively. These are impacted negatively, which means what? Because of global, people started preferring to technology. That means they are shifting to technology from traditional. They started shifting to technology from traditional, which means what? When they started shifting to technology from traditional, that means people stopped utilizing these traditional goods like cottage, handicrafts, handlooms, etc. So this is what is like the basic theme what is being given here. Like due to this, people started preferring to the technological based goods. People want like smart goods, smartphones, etc. Batteries, capacitor, plastic, toys, tires, dairy products, and vegetable oil are some example of industries where the small manufacturer has been hit hard. That's true what I said now. So that small industries has been hit hard means what? These traditional industries which were basically related to our culture, handloom, handicrafts, cottage, this all got due very high impacted. And several of the units have been shut down because of many issues and the workers have become jobless. Small industries in India used to have largest employment, 20 millions. So that was next to agriculture. But due to this, the concept of globalization, it has hit very hard to the country. Competition and uncertain employment. What is this? Globalization and the pressure of competition have substantially changed the lives of workers. Faced with the growing competition, most employers these days prefer to employ works flexibility. That means what? Now we have got a lot of options. See, other one rural side is completely impacted, but urban side you have a lot of options. Like you have work from home options, you have flexible timings. Women has getting advantage of working from home. Equal payments have been given in this online services for men and women. Okay, there is no kind of criteria that preference for men is given everywhere. The criteria like women and the men needs to be treated equally. Okay, so earlier it was a case, earlier it was an issue, but now the technology has overtaken treatment. Whoever is talented, for them, the work will be given, irrespective of men or women. Next, here large MNCs, we have large MNCs in this area, large MNCs in the garment industries. Okay, Europe and America were from exporters. Okay, from exporters, they're from Indian products. That means these large MNCs with worldwide network look for the cheapest goods in order to maximize their profits. To get these large orders, Indian garment exporters try hard to cut their own cost. So that is means basically you're trying to cut their what options you have to do now when technology has started overtaking. Now, what is the best thing? What you have to do is you produce your goods at lowest cost, so that when your prices are so low, that means your demand will increase. Will this happen with the traditional? No, traditional makes lot of investments. Traditional goods are very limited, time taking, production is not high because of technology, labor requirement is very high. That's the reason traditional will take time, and traditional are very quality. Now technology is also producing quality. Technology does not compromise in quality. Then to compete traditional and technology, it is the biggest challenge for us. So that's what has been written here. Like competition among the garment exporters has allowed the MNCs to make large profits. Workers are denied their fair share of benefits. That means what globalization has come, but globalization has made a large scale issues within the companies, basically impacted the rural. The conditions of the work and the hardship of the work described above have become common to many industrial units and services in India. Most workers today are employed in the unorganized sector. Okay, what are unorganized sector? Those sectors which are not calculated by CSO, okay, which do not come under the ambit of taxes, are called as unorganized sector. Now, moreover, increasingly conditions of work in the organized sector have come to reassemble. The unorganized sector, workers in the organized sector, such as Sushila, no longer get the protection. Unorganized, there is no protection here. There is no security. There is no particular tenure, which means what? This basic case, it means that when you're calling unorganized, you don't have government benefits, you don't have security, tenure. You can't say that men and women will be given equal wages. You can't fix with the timings. Everything will not be the similar. It keeps on rotates. Okay. Next, struggle for a fair globalization. So what is the meaning of the fair globalization? Fair globalization means here the domestic companies and the foreign companies, due to globalization, both should get benefit. Okay, domestic companies, companies which are technologically driven, domestic companies which are traditionally driven. Both these cases, okay, we have domestic companies. In the concept of domestic companies, you brought globalization. That means technologically also the company should move forward. Traditional companies also should move forward in our country. Then only it is going to benefit the domestic companies. Now, the AVO evidence indicates that not everyone has benefited from globalization. That's what I told you. People with education, skills, and wealth have made the best use. Who are those? The one which is keeping in technology and the one which is in the foreign category, not the traditional. Since globalization is now a reality, the question is how to make globalization more fair. Fair globalization means what? Would create opportunities for all and also ensure that the benefits of globalization are shared better. Okay, the government can play a major role in making this possible. Its policies must protect the interest, not only of the rich and the powerful, but all the people in the country. You have read about some of the possible steps that the government can take. For instance, the government can ensure that the labor laws are properly implemented and the workers get their rights. It can support small producers to improve their performance till the time they become strong enough to compete. Okay, if necessary, the government can use trade and investment barriers. It can negotiate at the WTO for the fairer rules. It can also align with the other developing countries with the similar interest to fight against the domination of the developed countries in the WTO. See, the theme of this two paragraphs, it says that, see, when technology will overtake traditional, that means my basic interest is to promote my traditional goods. So when I have to promote my traditional goods, what is happening here? There is nothing wrong in promoting traditional goods, but there's something called as the foreign goods, which are technologically driven. Foreign goods are technically very strong, and goods which are domestic, goods which are foreign. Domestic goods basically in India are traditional goods. Foreign goods, which are basically technically advanced goods. These are highly produced, exclusively produced with technology, and production is very high. So they are produced with a cheap rate of interest, and they are produced with the very costly rate of interest. Labor cost, etc., is very high. So what I should do when this is cheap, I will add more taxes, because people prefer this cheap products, and the demand for this traditional goods or the domestic goods will not be high. That means there are chances that these foreigners will go to WTO and file a case against you that you're not putting proper taxation system on both the goods. You're not adding more taxes on the domestic, but you are adding more taxes on the foreign. So how far it is fair? So for that also, India will definitely go and have a fight a clause in the WTO stating that, so whatever we are doing, we're trying to protect the interest of my domestic. All right. So this is what is being mentioned, and it is in the past few years, massive campaigns and representation by people organization had influenced important decisions related to the trade and investments at the WTO. This has demonstrated that people can also play an important role in the struggle for the fair globalization. Globalization should be fair. Remember, globalization should be fair, but remember, it should not impact the domestic industries. That is the meaning of that. So, few of the themes which are being highlighted here that can be asked in your exam. So, just go through that. Okay, next chapter is chapter number 5, which is called as consumer rights. This is one important chapter where most of the questions can be asked. Consumer rights. The colleague you see below contains some news clippings of the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission verdicts. Why did the people go to this organization in these cases? These verdicts came about because some people persisted and struggled to get justice. So what is the justice? We will see now. What is the problem made for the people? Let us check now. See, problem here is could be very simple. Problem here is very simple. What is the problem here? One second. What is the problem here? Let me check. Due teacher gets rupees 45,000 for flood blown bill. Okay. Insurance firm to pay 7,000 for theft. Consumer panel cracks own and sell spammers. Rohini Society to compensate Harry donor. Insurance firm made for denying medical. Okay. Bank fined rupees 15,000 for sloppy service. Okay, fine. Okay. Now let me tell you one important live example. One of my friend has ordered a mobile phone. Okay, a mobile phone where it's a very brand new box piece. He has got it from the online service. Okay, now two important things. There is one that is the company which sells. There is another company like Amazon, Flipkart, which connects you. Now he bought this mobile phone from Amazon and Flipkart, and there was some issue, immediate issue, the moment he opened the mobile phone. there was an immediate issue where he cannot use this mobile phone. So what did he do? He tried to complain to this services. At that time, I'm talking about 3 years back. At that time, this companies has issued him a statement that we are not responsible for this because the problem the phone is having should be reflected to the company. As you started using this phone, okay, that means you have to go to the service and there you have to file it. They have to replace it. So when this person has visited this company, they said that we do not take care of this problem, and they were throwing things on that there's some issue which has been created by this online e-commerce companies. So one is throwing another, other one is throwing another. This my friend was standing in between. So he doesn't know what to do now. Now what did he do? He went to consumer court and simply he filed a case. This is what you are seeing here. They simply filed a case stating that, sir, what I got the mobile phone, okay, I started using it within a day or 2 days, it got spoiled and I'm not getting any returns. Consumer court has immediately taken that case. Okay, he appointed the advocate also there. He fought the case and immediately asked the company to pay him compensation. What is that compensation? A new mobile phone, exchange the mobile phone with penalty. Okay, with a penalty. So penalty will be paid by the company. They paid the penalty and they replaced the mobile phone. So what did he do? He approached the consumer courts where he can file a case and he can make sure that things can be easily solved. All right. So consumer in the marketplace, we participate in the market both as the producers and the consumers. Perfect. As producers of the goods and services, we could be working in any of the sectors discussed earlier, such as agriculture, industry, or services. Consumers participate in the market when they purchase goods and services that they need. They are the final goods that the people are ready to consume. In preceding chapters, we discussed the need for the rules and regulations or steps that would promote development. These could be for the protection of workers in the unorganized sector or to protect people from high interest charged by the money lenders, and in the informal sector mainly. Similarly, rules and regulations are also required to protect the environment. This is what we are looking for. There are some rules and regulations which are actually trying to promote the protection of the environment. For example, money lender in the informal sector that you have read, various tricks to bind the borrower, they can so on. So I mean, like similarly, many people who work in the unorganized sector have to work at a low wage and accept conditions that are not fair and are also often harmful to their health. Such conditions, see, when you can go and file a case, what is the meaning of this is, meaning of this here is the consumers will be in a weak position and there should be some responsibility on whoever is the buyer and also responsibility on the seller. Responsibility of environment, that is producer responsibility. What a producer responsibility to recycle the product, reuse the product, recycle the product. Second case, consumer should also know his responsibilities about equal wages, exploitation at the workplace, etc. Exploitation in the market happens in the various ways. For example, sometimes trader indulge in unfair trade practices. When shopkeeper weighs less than or any issues, you can also come. Adulterated means you're trying to add more water, more salt content, more unnecessary sugar content, so that things can become very high. So such kind of things are also there. They can also be taken into the consumer courts. Okay. Next, markets do not work in a very fair manner when producers are few and powerful. So what you should do when the market is not working in an absolutely perfect condition? So I have told you the case, that case looks similarly. They purposely made it so it would fall apart after a few months so that I will not buy. So same product, same issues I have told you. For example, if you wanted to use that product, but it is not working well, some of the other issues, refurbished means something you have made little bit change and you started you started excelling it in the market. Now, for example, if you take a case, harassments or issues can also be because of the alcohol consumption and also by the smoking consumptions, which means what they could some claim the life, but consumers should also be aware that there will be something written on the packets or the alcohol that what you consume is not good for the health. Considering that, you should take care. Now, what is consumer movements? Consumer movements arose or dissatisfaction of the consumer. Whenever there is not having a dissatisfaction, when you're not happy with the social laws, environmental laws, financial laws made to you, then you can always go and file. Social loss is when you are coming up with any sort of product which is actually creating a social loss. For example, tobacco. Tobacco is creating a social loss, like it is impacting people's health. So it considered under the social. Now, any environmental law, that means you introduce any product, that product is making a loss to the environment. For example, a two-wheeler, a vehicle, it is creating a loss to the environment that it consumes a lot of petrol, carbon. Okay, this sulfur emissions are made, which is very harmful. Next, for example, any financial issues, any sort of issues with respect to economical issues, then for example, you invested so much, the price of the product is so high, but it is not worth. In any of the cases, you can go and file in the okay in the consumer, whether it could be goods or it could be a services. In India, the consumer movement as a social force originated with the necessity of protecting and promoting the interest of the consumer against the unethical and unfair trade practices. It's not like only social, any sort of environmental, financial, if you feel sociological, any sort of issues, you can always go and file a case. Food shortages, hoardings, black market, adulteration, they all reels to the consumer movement. Someone is storing food and deliberately making that there is no availability of food. And finally, when the demand is high, he is going to supply. Then this is also an issue. Till 1970, consumer organizations were largely engaged in writing articles and holding exhibitions. They formed consumer groups to look into the malpractices in ration shops, overcrowding in the road passenger transports. More recently, India witnessed a upsurge in the number of consumer groups. What is the meaning of this issue? See, the meaning of this issue is very simple. Here, always remember in your mind, it's not because of any loss you go to the consumer court. You can always approach the consumer court in case of any of the issues. I have told you very clearly: sociological burden, environmental burden, financial or economical burden. Any of the case, you can go and file a case in the consumer court. Consumer International, what is that? Let us read now. One second. In 1985, United Nations adopted the United Nations Guidelines for the Consumer Protection. Okay, so just remember this point. This was a tool for the nations to adopt consumers to protect consumers and for consumers advocacy groups to to press their government to do so. That means what? To so that the government and the consumers, they should be some mediator to progress things. Okay, today Consumer International has become an umbrella body, so this is not needed, but remember this, they act as a mediator between the government. Because of all this effort, the movement succeeded in bringing pressure on the business firm as well as the government. Okay, a major step taken in 1986 by Indian government was, this is most important in this entire chapter. A major step taken in the 1986 by the Indian government was enactment of the Consumer Protection Act 1986, popularly known as COPRA. So PT will ask you, what is related to which of the following is part of COPRA? Okay, so what is COPRA? Consumer Protection Act. That is, it is related to protection of the consumers with respect to any of the activities. So you can go and file a case in the consumer courts if you are not happy with that. Okay, next one. Safety is everyone's right. Now here, let us remember Reggie suffering shows how a hospital due to negligence. Okay, even in the hospital cases, if they are there, you can go and file a consumer court case. While using many goods and services, we as a consumers have the rights to protect against the marketing of goods and delivery of service that are hazardous to life and property. Producers need to strict follow the required safety rules and regulations. Producers extended responsibility, we call them. Okay, we call them producers extended responsibility, or EPR, extended ERPs, extended responsibilities of the producers, producers responsibilities, anything you can call them. Okay, so what is that? It's not like I make a good and issued in the market. It is not like I make a good and I have released in the market. It is something like how this good is being reprocessed so that it is not impacting my environment. Okay, that is what is been given here. Like if you're given an example of pressure cookers that will make an serious accidents. If you make an electric vehicles nowadays they are catching fires. Okay, not all, but few of them do catch fires. That what you should do, you should have a very strong consumer code which will take what are this, what did we take an example of this pressure cooker, electric vehicles. These are the examples where people are facing some issues, so you can go under the social cause. Okay, so information about goods and services. When you buy any commodity, you will find certain details given on the package. These details are about the ingredients, price, batch, etc. Okay, when we buy medicines on the package, you might find directions for proper use and information relating to side effects and risk associated with the usage of that medicine. When you buy garments, you will find the information on the instruction for the washing. Okay, see, one thing is information on the type of the cloth, type of the medicine, what are these basic ingredients are this in the medicines, which needs to be clearly mentioned, or you have an every right to know what is being added. Okay, you can go and file a case that you want to know what are the salts being added in the medicine or the tablets. You can go and file the case. That is called right to be informed. Why is that rule have been made? So that the manufacturer displays the information. Why do that they have to maintain this? Because I should know what they have added. I should know what all. See, if you buy a mobile phone also, remember that in this mobile phone, all the things has been added here. So he should clearly mention what is there in this box. He'll say one piece of mobile phone, one piece of battery, one piece of the headphones. Okay, why do you think that he has given these options? He has given these options because it should be based on the rights of the consumer, else he'll go and file. Okay, that means the consumer should know what he has given. The consumer thinks that for the payment of 10,000 for the box, he has given me only certain essentials only, but not others. So comparison will be starting between the two producers and the manufacturers. That right to be informed. This is the case that everyone has a right to be informed about the particulars of the goods and services that they purchase. Consumers can then complain and ask for the compensation or replacement if the products proves to be defective in any manner. Okay, that's why I told you the case of my friend, that what he has mentioned, either he has not given the product, okay, completely, or this fellow has made some defect where he filed a case and has won the case. Most of them will leave and they'll go for the other product, but not all people are the same. Remember that. Next, if any defective, it has been given here, like if defective well within the expiry period, or it should be responsibility to accept them. And see, everything has to be clearly displayed. I mean, like displayed, like MRP has to be easily clearly displayed, and what is this how much is the selling price, what are the taxes had been added, everything has to be clearly displayed. In recent times, the right to information has been expanded to cover various services provided by the government. In October 2005, the Government of India enacted a law particularly known as Right to Information Act. Remember this. Now, as part of the Right to Information Act, remember I can always go to the consumer court and file a case there stating that what is being added there, how much I paid, and what he has given. They will immediately call upon the manufacturer and they'll send a notice to the manufacturer that there is a file, a case has been filed against you. What is the kind that you have submitted and you have paid to these kind of consumers? When choice is denied, definitely I have told you like there should be some refund. Refund is also based on what? Refund is also based on the redressal mechanism, which you go and file a case, then refund needs to be given. Refund has to be given. Always remember, these are very basic points. Everyone should know. Refund has to be given, or compensation needs to be made, or any finally, I mean, even if they file it, some penalty will be added. That penalty will be benefit for you. Okay. Now, what do you understand from this incident? Any consumer who receives a service in whatever capacity, regardless of age, gender, and nature of service, has the right to choose whether to continue or receive the services. That if you're not satisfied, you can always deny the service. Okay. Based on that, you remember, based on the right to information, you should know, or the terms and the conditions you should know. If the terms and conditions clearly says that no refund will be made, then no consumer court will entertain you. This is very important. That's the reason nowadays no exchange, no refund. They'll clearly write in the barcodes and they will just put it in the bills that see we have already made. So that they have wanted to be very safe side. No, it's better that for nowadays that you have to make a clear check about what is there. Okay, now where should a consumer go to get justice? Where you have to go to? Read again the cases of Reggie Matthew, and these are given earlier. That is related to what they have faced some defective pieces, etc. These are some examples in which consumers are denied their rights. Such instances occur quite often in our country. Where should the justices go? Now, that means if they are not taking back or they are not exchanging, there is no refund, then what you could, you just try it. I mean, the consumers have the right to seek redressal against unfair trade practices and exploitation. If any damage is done to the consumer, she has the right to get compensation depending on the degree of damage. Okay, there is a need to provide an easy and effective public system by which this can be done. So what are those? Consumer can file a complaint, okay, before the appropriate consumer forum, okay, on his or her own, with or without the service of lawyers. So better you take a lawyer. You might be interested in knowing how an aggrieved person gets his or her compensation. Let us take the case of Prakash. He had sent a money order to his village for his daughter's marriage. The money did not reach his daughter at the time when she needed it, nor did it reach months later. Prakash filed a case in the district level consumer dispute resolution commission in New Delhi. All the steps he undertook are illustrated here. These days, consumer as an individual or a group, okay, called class action suit file a complaint both physically or through internet and conduct the case through video conferencing. That means you need not be physically present there. People will take your case on behalf of you and they will definitely go and file. Then what will be done here? How will Prakash will definitely be called upon? Then the post office does not respond to the, he has done a lot of queries. That's what he wanted to tell, that he has raised this all these queries, and Prakash office post office does not respond to the query satisfactorily. That means what he will do? Now there is only one option left to our Prakash, that go and file in the consumer forum. Now he'll write, he himself pleads the case in the commission office. That means then no advocate is there. He can directly go and file is the case. The commission office judge verifies the document and hears the argument of both the aggrieved party and the other party. The judge announces the dispute redressal commission verdict based upon what? Based upon the natural justice and based on the evidences available. The consumer movement in India has led to the formation of various organizations locally known as consumer forums, consumer protection councils. This is important. They guide consumers what they will do, how to file the case, how can you take dispute redressals, okay, and certain occasions some issues may be there, how you should approach the court, etc. If you are living in a residential colony, you might have noticed boards of residents welfare association. If there is any unfair trade practice meted out to their members, then they can take the case any of their behalf. This is a very general point. Under COPRA, Consumer Protection Redressal Mechanism Acts, a three-tier quasi-judicial machinery at the district, state, and national level was set up. Read this for prelims. And between the lines, what we say, this read is for prelims. National level was set up for the redressal of consumer disputes. The district level authority called District Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission deals with the cases involving claims up to 1 crore. This is very important. District has some limits of 1 crore. Okay. The state level consumer distribution among to state level commission between 1 crore to 10 crores. For state, it is 1 crore to 10 crores. And the national level deal with cases which are above 10 crores. So directly in the exam, he will ask you the cases which are above 10 crores are dealt at national level. Okay, 1 crore, 1 to 10 crore, greater than 10 crores. If a case is dismissed in the district commission, then he can appeal in the state, then he can go for the national. Thus the act has enabled us as a consumer to have right to represent in the consumer disputes redressal mechanism. That means you always have a right to go and represent and file a case and get it solved. Learning to become well informed consumers. When we as consumers become conscious of our rights while purchasing various goods and services, we will be able to discriminate and make informed choices. This calls for acquiring the knowledge and skill to become a well informed consumer. How do we become conscious of our rights? What are the consciousness? Any issues if there you try to impede right to inquire, or we have COPRA that has setting up of separate department of consumer affairs in center and the state governments. The poster that have been seen are an example through which government spread information about legal process which people can reach. You might also be seeing such advertisements on television channels. That means what? Anyone, why are you putting Mahatma Gandhi's photo? Because he talks about the major important principles of your rights, dharma, okay, the rights has been taught, etc. ISI and agmark. Now read for this prelims. You should always make sure that there should be FSSAI on food related, okay, there should be an agmark, okay, or there should be a trademark of which carat gold you are buying, 24 or 22 carat gold, etc. While buying many commodities on the cover, you might have seen a logo which letters ISI, Agmark, Hallmark for the gold, or plus F. These logos and certificates help consumer get assured of quality while purchasing the goods and certificates. Hallmark is for gold, Agmark for agriculture product, ISI for any of the products. Okay, so these certificates allow producers to use their logo provided they follow certain quality. If these are being given, that means what? They are providing some quality. Though this organization develop quality standard for many products, it is not compulsory for all the producers to follow standards. However, for some producers that affect the health and safety of consumers or the products of mass consumptions like LPG cylinders, this and this, it is mandatory on the part of the producers to get certified. So what certified products I have told you, FSI is related to the food related acts. Agmark is the agriculture based. This is hallmark as the gold base. Okay, next. Now look at this is, I think this is an electric heater or anything like an iron box or everything. Here you have an ISI. Okay, the standard point of view. That is the standard representation where we have. Okay, next one. Taking the consumer movement forward. So what is that you are taking? India has been observing 24th December. Remember this number. 24 December as the National Consumers Day. It was on this day that the Indian Parliament enacted Consumer Protection Act in 1986. You had to read this thoroughly. India is the one of the countries that have exclusive authority for consumer redressal mechanism. The consumer movement in India has made some progress in the terms of numbers of organized groups and their activities. There are today more than 2000 consumer groups in the country, of which only 50 to 60 are very well organized. However, the consumer redressal process is becoming some issue expensive, rigid, time taking, etc. Okay, consumers are required to engage lawyers. These cases require time for filing and attending, because nowadays people are aware of consumer courts. So basically this will definitely take a lot of time. You can't expect a speedy judgment here. Okay, that means they will be called upon, they will be initiated, and they will be spoken about this issue. They will send a notice to the producer. If in case if he is not satisfied, he can always come back and submit that what he has done. Okay, or he can set an advocate, or he can directly come and respond. Anything it can be. Okay, but at district level, at what range you will ask, state level, what range you will ask, you have to know that. That means what? Moreover, most purchases in the market are small retail sales only. The COPRA was amended in the year 2019 to further strengthen consumers in India. Buying through internet is now included. If there is any device deficiency or defective product, service provider or manufacturer is held responsible. Okay, for example, internet services. If they are not providing, see, for example, you use any internet services, broadband, but this the facility which they provide, internet, that may not be through a service provider. That could have been different. Now, sometimes what happens is your net does not work properly. So you'll say that when the net is not performing well, or it has been into the very slow motion, so what will you do? You will file an issue ticket. So the your net operator will say, it's not my issue, it is related to the router. You call on this number. You call on that number, they'll ask, no, we are perfectly fine issue. So here what is happening? You're actually losing number of days issues. So suddenly after 5 days, they will start connecting you the internet, and everything start working. When you start demanding the 5 days of extra power supply or internet supply, etc., these people will deny. Now, what you can do in this case, see, whoever it is the issue, whether it could be a case of the network service provider or it's a case of the person who is router provider, both, any one of them has created an issue. So what will you do? This 5 days of the loss, you need to get compensated. Now, who has to get this penalty? Who has to compensate this? That you have to file a case, and you should understand. Buying through internet is now included. This is about the bank with respect to internet, etc. Now, remember, nevertheless, there is a scope for consumer to realize their role and importance. It is often said that consumer movements can be effective only with the consumer's active involvement. So it's not like I was facing one issue I'll tell you about, because I have this Airtel internet connection, which is most of the time very fast, and they'll provide rapid solution, but sometimes at least 2 to 3 days in a month, there is always a disconnection, there is some issue. So what I will do it to solve this issue, I'll raise a ticket. I'll ask that internet is very slow, I have to connect. So they'll say they'll take at least 1 day time. So like such, if I take last 6 months, if I check, they were around 19 days which I don't have internet. This is one real example I'm giving. 19 days is so huge here. I mean, 19 days means what? For 1 month, if they charge me 700, that means 350 days, 350 rupees. They're not having me providing an internet. That means I'm just paying them. So I told them very clearly, if you're not going to provide, I'll be definitely shifting to, I did not say that I'll go to consumer court and all. I told that I'll shift to other services. It is creating an issue. What did they do? In the next bill, they added me 19 days exactly. Why? Because in the Airtel data on my name, it was very clearly mentioned that there were so many tickets raised and the net was interrupted for 19 days. When the cause is very genuine, international companies, these are like very high profile companies, Airtel, etc., Jio, etc., they won't take any risk of their reputation. If the case is very genuine, they will provide. So this month, I will not be paying any single rupee for the 19 days. So why? Because it is, I am, I have every right to know what are the issue. I have every right to know how many days it was disconnected, and it is my money. Then definitely I will speak to save my money. Okay. Is there any question or body mass index? Okay. Chalo. So this ends your consumer. Consumer, you don't one or I think 4 to 5 points are important in the consumer related, but remaining are not that important. But that was awareness. Globalization, we have very good points here. WTO related, etc. So all right. So we'll meet tomorrow. Take care. Thank you.